All right, so one interesting movement that has come about of late has been this idea of toxic masculinity. And it's honestly good for the most part. It's basically the idea that there are things that we have learned in society and culture as men that are actually harmful to us, actually harmful to society, actually harmful to women and children. And that's absolutely true. But I think where there's an issue is it's almost become like a false dilemma. Like, we can acknowledge the fact that as men, we need to express our feelings. We need to be in touch with our feelings. We need to be emotionally healthy. And we need to do that eventually so society can be healthy, so families can be healthy, so we can relate to our partners the right way, so we can relate to our children the right way, so we can relate to our friends the right way. 100% true. At the same time, you also have to realize that there's still standards of manhood. Like, you can look at men and women and tell that we're designed differently. So, yes, the gender roles that have been put in place have been unhealthy, but that doesn't mean that we just get rid of the idea of gender roles in general. Like, if you just look at the average man is stronger than the average woman. Now, of course, there are some women that are stronger than men, etc., right? But that's because as a man, we are designed to protect. So you can't say that, oh, when we're protecting the family is somehow toxic masculinity. It's not. It's what we're designed to do. We just need to keep in mind that as we deal with these issues that have gone on over time, hidden issues and things like that, that there still has to be a standard of manhood. Okay, yes, you should be able to express your feelings, but that doesn't mean your feelings control you. Yes, you need to be able to cry at an appropriate time. That doesn't mean that it won't be a time where you can't afford to cry right now because we gotta get something done. And that's where maturity comes in. Understanding that, yes, I have these feelings, but these feelings don't control me. I have command over these feelings. And I think that's part of what is getting lost in this toxic masculinity movement. Now, on the flip side, a lot of us had fathers that grew up, didn't express themselves, didn't affirm. And I think that's where a lot of just the insecurity and manhood in general comes from. Because, like, as a man, like, that affirmation is God's order, is God's design, that the affirmation comes from a father figure, comes from a father. So if you have a silent father that never affirmed you or only spoke when you did something wrong, or you just grew up without a father figure at all, by default, you're going to be insecure. And that's where a lot of these toxic traits that we're dealing with now come from. On the flip side, if you do have a healthy father, which many of us do not or have not had, you'll also learn, while you do have a safe place to express yourself and get affirmed and things like that, that there are things that you have to do as a man. That is the design that you do as a man. So, yes, you shouldn't tell your kid when he's crying, oh, man up or stop before I give you something to cry about. Because that's exactly the same person who, when you're with a girlfriend, is going to be like, why don't you ever express your feelings? Because now you've been taught that this side of you is not congruent with your manhood. But on the flip side, you can't just be so emotional that when you have to get something done, that your emotions get in the way. The other thing too is, as a man, the Bible says, wives, submit to your husband, which is true, but submit does not mean allow somebody to control you. Which, because a lot of men are insecure, they then try to control women because they're insecure in themselves. But on the flip side, right after that, it says men are supposed to love their wives as Christ loved the church. That means you're willing to bleed, die, sacrifice, be patient, not judge for sin, not judge for falling short, accepting her humanity. And those are the things that a woman needs to thrive in an environment where a woman needs to thrive, an environment where she's being affirmed, but you can't affirm a woman if you've never been affirmed. an environment where she's being spoken positivity over, but no one knows how to speak positivity over other people if positivity is not spoken over them. And that's why society needs fathers. Society needs fathers figures. Society needs to be reconciled to the father. Because if not, we're going to turn the page on old problems that we had of lack of expression and things like that, and just create new problems where there's no standards. And when there's no standards, something's going to collapse.